What's happening, financial coaches? It's Pete here. Hey, I want to talk to you today about the power of sprints within the marathon. So, if you are a sole practitioner doing financial coaching, you are probably aware of the fact that this is kind of an open ended, indefinite, no finish line type of exercise, especially if you're trying to build a business that's going to last years, right? And maybe not just something to fill the gap, right? Maybe you're doing it as a side hustle, and hopefully that at some point it becomes a full-time thing, or maybe it'll just be a thing for 10 years while you're working a day job. But the reality is that most of this is a marathon, and most things are, right? Most things in life are, saving for retirement, raising kids, whatever it is. You've got to pace yourself, and building a business, a financial coaching business, is no different. Now, that being said, it is very easy, and I am certainly a victim of this too, is that for things that are just ongoing, they tend to grind on you. They tend to wear you down, and you can find yourself doing 8 hours a day and then really 6 hours a day, even if you're clocking in at 8 hours and 4 hours a day and 3 hours a day. And you can find yourself drifting from the stuff that's probably really important, that makes a difference, to the stuff that is a little easier. It's a little more administrative. It doesn't really matter as much. And the pace of things, maybe you started building a course and it was really, really awesome at the beginning because you got through 50% of it in 2 days, but the last 50% is taking you months, right? I mean, these are just things that happen. It's the reality of being human and tired and needing focus and all of these other things. So basically, what I wanted to put out there is that I really believe in dedicating yourself to sprints. Coders do it, they call them code sprints, but a sprint within the marathon. And to me, what this helps you do is not get bogged down with the unimportant stuff, the minutia of stuff, and really get back to what's really important to building your business. And so basically, what I would say is that if you are starting to feel a little drained, if you're starting to feel like, man, I haven't made progress on the stuff that I really wanted to, you look back and you're like, oh man, I can't believe 6 months have gone by and some stuff that should have only taken me a couple weeks never even got done. So maybe this is a good time for you to go ahead and schedule a sprint within the broader marathon. And what I would do here, and what I do for myself, is I say, all right, I'm going to go back to finishing up this book, I'm going to this course or this game or this handout or whatever it is, and I set myself up with a sprint within the marathon. And here's my steps on what I think you should go through to develop the sprint for yourself, right? So what I do is I focus on what is the most important thing that needs to be done, right? And if I can focus it on, hey, this particular project or whatever, well, then I can say, let's say I want to write an online course, or I want to create an online course. It's even broader, right? So what do I need? I need the outline for it. I need the structure. I need the content. I need the slides. I need to record it, right? There are a bunch of steps. So those are the steps that have to happen. Now, sitting around and thinking about my why on this, and that's probably not important. Or getting my desk cleaned up to work on it, that's not probably important either. What are the things that are really important to get this done? Maybe it's marketing that you have to do. Well, okay, you could sit down and craft a beautiful email and lay out beautiful graphics in it. But do you need to do that? Does that need to get done, or do you just need to write a paragraph introducing yourself to people and just getting it out there, right? So some of these things might be important, and some of these things that might not be super important, but you wanted to be in there. That's possible too, because it may not take a lot of time. So I'm not going to be the one deciding that for you. But what is important? What is critical to getting what you want to get done, right? So get those critical pieces in there, those really important, the critical pieces that need to be developed. You got to list those out so that you, one, make sure that you're going to get those done. Now, all right, now make your checklist and organize them. And when I start making my task lists on things, I don't even think about the order. I usually try to go through things pretty linearly. So if I'm trying to create a course, I might say, I'm going to work on the outline. I'm going to find the pictures for it. I am going to, open a PowerPoint or whatever it is, and make your checklist. And, it helps me to go in order. But sometimes I'll jump back and I'll be like, oh, what, I didn't even think about it. I got to find a website to host it, or whatever it might be. I got to think about pricing. I got to sign up for a merchant account if you even have to. I don't even think you need to, but I'm throwing out things that might be relevant. So make a checklist, and it can be out of order, whatever. And then once you have all the things that you need to do here, and so there's 60 things on this checklist, that's certainly possible. Then go back and organize them. Are there things that can get grouped together because they're similar? So finding the website, finding a host for it, finding a platform, recording software, like all that tech stuff might be grouped together because it's tech related, because it's a couple hours on your computer, right? Some of the other things like figuring out the outline and pulling the pictures. Um, those might be little disparate tasks, but you want to pull the pictures as you're doing as you complete the outline, right? So that you know, all right, I just want a picture, one picture per slide, and so as I'm doing this outline, I can see, all right, this is one slide, this is one slide, this one's. So I don't know how you want to group it, but build your checklist and then organize it, right? And then organize it so that you can just start flowing through the sucker like a grocery list, so that you're not jumping around. Put it in the order that you think it's going to be developed. You certainly can jump around if you need to, but put it in the order that you think is going to be the most logical for you. And so that now you just have your list. It's almost like your assignment. Here's what you're going to be working on, because I think, especially in the midst of things, you don't want to think about what's next. That can be very deflating at the time when you're like, all right, I got that done. Now what do I need to do to get done? Because you don't know the pace. If I have a checklist of 60 things that I know that I need to get done, and I get through 10 of them, it's nice because, all right, I'm 1/6 the way through. So you can see that progress. You can see where you're at. You can determine if you are on pace for your sprint. Let's say, in many cases, I want to sprint only to last a few days, maybe Monday through Wednesday, Monday through Thursday, maybe a week if really, really necessary, kind of a big thing. But I don't want them to be super long, because it's really hard to stay focused and committed for more than 30 or 40 hours on something. So, but that's why I really love that checklist once I've got it organized, because I can just kind of check out of my mind, focus on the task, not worry about, am I missing something? Did I do something out of order? Am I working on something now that I'm going to look back on and be like, oh, I should have done something else first, because that, now I got to redo it. So organize your checklist and then work off that. That is your roadmap for what is going to be done during the sprint. Then block off the time and distractions. A lot of people say that, no, that's pretty easy, I'm going to do it, but it's maybe closing the door to your office, locking yourself in the basement. Some people, with unlimited means do all sorts of funny things. Some writers will rent a house or go on vacation for 6 months because they won't have any of their other distractions. They'll be on the beach. I know some people who do their annual planning by going to a different town and renting a hotel and locking themselves in the hotel so that they can't even leave until they're done with what they want to do. For most of us, I think, it's just about saying, hey, all right, I'm not going to have guests over, or I will block off time to walk the dog, but I'm not going to just allow myself to be kind of pulled away at any moment because the doorbell rings, or there's a delivery, or the laundry's going, or I've got tasks around the house that I want to make sure I'm getting done, right? So block off that time, cancel your other meetings. The problem with those distractions, the problems with having meetings and things that aren't related, is that it pulls you out of the mindset and out of your flow when you're working on some of these things, right? How hard is it to do multiple things at once? I'm a big believer that the human mind cannot multitask. The human mind works on one thing at a time. And the more we're checking in and out of the task we're doing for something else, it just has to, we have to give ourselves time to readjust and kind of get back into it. And so it's just not that easy. It's just like shifting up and down in a car. You can get it once you're in gear. That's the best place to stay, because now you can just cruise control. But if you have to change gears, there's a big lurch there. There is a shock to your system when you are switching from working on your course to doing laundry, to putting in dishes, to working on your course, to walking the dog, to signing for deliveries, to working on your course, right? You just don't want that turbulence to take you off pace. And then another one is set up a reward for when you're done. The reward can be anything you want. I mean, buy yourself a car if you have the capability. For me, there are some computer games. I'm not a big computer game player, but there are some games that I enjoy. I don't know. I play them once or twice a year. And so sometimes what I will do is I will say, hey, you get an hour of computer playing time, but once you get through something, right? And I do this because, especially if there's a big book that I know it's not going to be that interesting, it's not going to be riveting, but it's something I want to read. And I'll say, hey, read a chapter, get an hour of computer playing time. And that'll commit me, because if I don't have anything saying, hey, get through that chapter, I can sometimes get through half a chapter and be like, oh, this is pretty dry. oh, why don't I just do something else for a minute and I'll come back to this? And you invariably don't come back to it. And if you do, then you have to kind of reread a bunch of stuff to kind of figure out where you left off, right? So, what I would love to see is you finding something that incents you to stick with something for a certain period of time. And so, if I have 60 tasks, and let's say it's 10 tasks a day on my checklist that I want to get done. So, it's a 6 day process. Well, I could say, well, after I get my 10th done on any day, I'm going to reward myself with, sitting by the beach, watching a movie, whatever it might be, something that you actually want to do for you personally, so that you are incented to try to get through those 10 things as quickly as possible so that you can get your reward. Right. And we want this process not to just be work. We want to enjoy it. So feel free to give yourself a reward. You know what you want. You know what really inspires and motivates you on the short term things. So feel free to incorporate that. And then when the sprint is over, my last thing here is let it be over. Right. Say that, hey, this is a 3 day sprint. This is a 4 day sprint, whatever it is. I want to get my stuff done in this sprint. Because if you say, hey, it can be a 5 day sprint, well, maybe it has to be. Maybe you just can't get everything done in 4 days, and that's totally viable. But if you get through stuff and you're like, oh, I didn't get it through it all, I'll just kind of keep finishing it up, and it turns into 3 4 days. Like I said, that motivation curve just starts sliding off, and all of a sudden you can find yourself back at a point where you were deciding to do a sprint in the first place, to kind of put some effort and some muscle and some energy behind something. So I would say get it done in the sprint, and kind of treat it like a deadline that you might have to meet at work, so that if you are on day 4 of a 5 day sprint and you're like, oh my gosh, I only have 20% of my time left, but I have 30% of the work still left. Well, kind of push through. Say, listen, I want to get my stuff done. I want to get everything that I wanted to get done by the end of my sprint. And so, yes, I didn't budget it right, or I didn't pace myself right, but I'm going to bite the bullet right now and get through it, as opposed to just letting it dangle off the edge and maybe get done, or maybe not get done, or get stretched out, or be an untied loose end at the end of 6 months again. Push through it, because what you can do now is take a breath, relax, and go back to your regular work, right? So now you can kind of go back to that more manageable long-term pace. And maybe even after your sprint is done, maybe your reward is that you're not going to do any work at all. You're going to take a 3 day weekend or a 4 day weekend. You're not going to think about work and kind of get back to the marathon work until you can get some time to just have a couple days to re-energize, right? So I would stick to the sprint as much as you possibly can. It's better to pay a little bit of a price in the sprint to get everything done, so that you can breathe easy and say, hey, pat myself on the back. I got it done. I got it done. So that is the power of a sprint in a marathon to me. Focus on what needs to be done, that actually needs to be done to accomplish the goal. Determine the category, make your checklist, organize that checklist, use that as your roadmap for your sprint time, block off the time, get rid of distractions, set up a reward to keep you on pace, and then relax and go back to your regular work after you have actually finished everything that you wanted to finish in that sprint. So hopefully that helps kind of keep you on track, get some things re-energized, get some things done, get some things off your list, and get your business pointing in the right direction. Hopefully that helps. See you later.